Hello and welcome to the fourth and final installment, at least at this point, of using Google Drive. Again, this is the fourth installment. The first installment was what is Google Drive and how do I upload files. The second installment was how do I create documents, how do I create Word documents, Excel, and PowerPoint using Google Drive. The third installment had to do with sharing. How do I share files and how do I share folders? But it was mostly about files. We're going to talk a little bit more about sharing folders in this fourth installment. In this fourth and final installment, we're going to talk about file and folder kind of management and kind of a file folder structure and how you can access and store your material and be able to search and find it easy. So here we go. So, file and file structure, organizing your documents. I mentioned in a number of the other videos that I like to always make sure that I'm in the activities area. I like working from activity. Oftentimes when you log in, unless you're using activity and you're already there and that was the last place you were, it usually defaults to my drive. But I like using activity. I described that in some other videos, so I'm not going to go into detail here. But we're going to talk about activity and all items because there is a difference, and I want to point that out to you. So activity is like the Google Drive inbox. So if you're somebody who's used to using Google Mail, Gmail, or any type of email platform, you know what an inbox is and what its purpose is. It kind of shows you all of the files. So that's one of the aspects of activity, is you get a list of all your different files and different file types. You'll get to recognize this is a Word document that's still in its original Word format. This happens to be a Word document, but it's already been converted, which we talked about in Movie 3 when we talked about sharing. It's already been converted into the Google Docs platform. Excel spreadsheets and so forth. Some images, Adobe PDFs, and all that type of a thing. So let's kind of take a look a little bit at this particular screen. One of the ways that you're going to be able to access files and folders down the road is to either come up with some type of a list or actually go up here in the Google box. This is the search box, and you can actually search for things. So if I did not know, or this list was too long, or it was in a folder someplace, this apps for all, if that's what I was looking for, I could actually just type apps for all into that box and hit my search, and that would locate the file for me. These files are sorted by last modified. So the last time they were modified either by me or by anybody else. If it happens to be a shared file or folder and someone else modifies it and it's maintained here in Google Drive, that date information is going to be there. If this was something that was done today, there would actually be a time here as well. So it would show the time if today was the day it was last modified. Otherwise, it's going to show a date. And it would always show who the person is who did the modification. If there's somebody else working on it, that person's information would show up there. So let's talk about all item, because there's some other aspects here. Again, activity just shows you files. Once you get a lot of files in here, you're going to want to put it into a folder structure. If you click on all items, you'll see these little gray boxes. These are actually folders that I have information in. And so folders, once you get a lot of files in here, you're going to want to create a folder structure. It's just going to keep things nice, organized, and neat. So basically all items is activity plus folders. Okay, activity plus folders. So some of the other things in here that that are still nice is you have the ability to do various things here. And I'll just show you something. Whether you have a file or a folder, any of this stuff kind of works. Let's say I'm talking about this ACC 302 warranty dot. If I right click or command click on the Mac, you get this drop down menu, some choices. We've talked about this before with shared and so forth. One of the things you might want to do is remember the items that show up in the activity list are those most recently modified. So every time that you put a document into Google Docs, you have something in here, any type of a file, it's going to continuously be in the activity section. Well, maybe you just want to keep it in Google Drive, but you don't always want to have it at your fingertips. You can put it in a file folder somewhere and store it, and then you can identify that you don't want to see this all the time, so you're going to kind of condense or consolidate your list. You can click on this Don't Show in an Activities list. And so it's going to actually move that. So here we are again, we're in the All Items. If I actually go over here to Activities, you'll see it's no longer here. Again, All Items. There it is. Activity. It's no longer there. You can go ahead and change that back anytime you want. Let's talk about another item in here, because that's going to take us to the next area, and that is Move To. This is one way you can actually move this to a folder if you wanted to do that. But I'm going to show you what I think is just an easier, faster way. So first of all, let's talk about creating a folder. But before we do that, let's go back to All Items, and I want to show you one more thing. I talked about your files are going to be sorted by last modified. That's the default. You may want to sort it in other ways. Last opened by me, sort by title, last edited by me, whatever. Last modified is the default, but from the All Items area, if you feel like you want to sort it in a different way, here's how you will do that. Okay, just a couple of other buttons over here. This is the list view, which I'm in right now. There's also the grid view. This kind of creates thumbnails for you. Some people like this view. You can kind of get, you know, in this case of a PowerPoint presentation here, this is actually the first slide. You can't see everything here, but you can get some information just visually if that's where you want to do it. It takes up a lot more space because it's not just a line item. So I like particularly the list view, but obviously whatever works for you, that's how you would get to it. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back to my activities area. To create a folder, we're going to click on this red box called Create, and that gives you choices. In the past, in the second tutorial, we did create documents, and we talked about these different types of documents. We also said you could create a folder there. We're actually going to show you how to do that right now. So you click the red box that says Create, click on Folder, and you can give it a name. We'll call it Test 2 because I probably have a Test 1 in here someplace. And so I now have another folder here under my drive. If I go to my All Items, remember we won't see it other than in my drive. Okay, if you got yourself set up like this, there's your pretty much your default once you log in, unless you've been playing around with some of these areas. Activity, I'm not going to see that folder, but if I go to All Items, there's my folder. So I can just drag items in here. So there's my folder. If I wanted to take this item, I can just click and drag it. And there it is. She's all set right inside that particular folder. So you want to just click the Create button, give it a name, drag and drop the folders. Okay. The other thing I want to show you is pay attention to what you have to the right of your files or your folders, because it might tell you what type of material is in there. It might tell you if it's been shared or not. It might tell you where it is. Share folder with Bob. If I had some, I don't have a lot of things in here that are shared, but if I had some things that are shared, again, we're looking at All Items, we get both the individual files and folders, but this is telling me that this particular item is in Test 2 folder. So if I didn't know where some things were, that's another way for me to look in the list. I still think when you have a lot of stuff in there, once you create a whole bunch of folders and you got a lot of documents in here of all kinds of different types, you might as well just use Google, the search of your G drive, just like you would use Google to search. When someone shares something with you, this is important too. Normally, if somebody shares a folder with you, you'll get an email that'll tell you that there has been a folder shared with you. You can click on that email and get access to that particular information and that particular item, whether it's a file or a folder. You can actually then open the email, click on the folder. If it's a folder, there's a folder icon there, and then click the checkbox next to My Drive, which is one of your choices, and you can then move it just like we've done here, and it'll put it in whatever area you want here. If it's a folder, it's just going to give you another folder list for one of those particular folders. I've already done that once here. I have a personal Gmail account along with a work Gmail account, and that's where you have this particular folder here. I've already done that. But other than that, that's all there is. That's all there is to a file structure and a folder structure. Again, activities just lists all of your files. All items list your files plus your folders. You can also play around with My Drive, which is just going to show you your folder structure. So between those three areas, that should help keep you nice, neat, and organized. Thanks for listening.